Well, last week I was here and heard two great talks. We had Sun Dragon talking to us about jumping into life, and we had Annette talking to us about being a true expression of the gifts that we've been given. And I was so taken by some of the thoughts that I figured, well, I'm just going to tag on to these and add some more thoughts. First of all, I want to share a story with you that I got from listening to Steve, because one of the things he said, and I love this, he says he wanted us to jump out and participate in life, and he was saying, you have something to give somebody, and somebody else has a gift for you. Let me see if I got it exactly right. You have something for somebody. In other words, a gift for somebody, and somebody has a gift for you. Well, I am going through an interesting process of divesting myself of all the things that I have gathered up over the years, because I am moving. I'm not moving out, I'm moving just from one place in St. Louis to another place in St. Louis, so I'm not moving out of town. However, being 83 myself, it is the time for the great downsizing. And one of the things, it's been a very interesting process to go through. And we talk about creativity and opportunities. About 4 months ago, I was I was filling out a form for OASIS. It's the older adults continuing education center in Clayton, Missouri. And I decided I'm going to do a workshop about decluttering. And 3 weeks ago, I discovered I am moving. So I'm having all these wonderful opportunities presented to me to actually go through the experience so I can share what I've learned with other people. As part of this decluttering process, one of the things that I'm letting go of is my enormous collection of perfumes. You know, everybody has, some people collect shoes, some people collect handbags, some people it's scarves, some people it's earrings, some people it's, I don't know, heavy metal, rock and roll, songs, whatever. For me, one of the things was I could go into almost any elevator and tell you exactly what everybody else was wearing, as far as wow. So I decided to give some of my precious perfumes away because they were being wasted. You can't wear all of them. No. You can only wear one. And I've now gotten to the point where I have 2 treasures and some auxiliary ones, and I don't need all the others. So I decided to give 2 bottles of perfume to my physical therapist, because I knew that along with that and some other stocking stuffers and all these different cosmetics that I have in my collection, that if she couldn't use it, I knew that other people in the office or other physical therapists could probably use these things. And so I gave her these 2 bottles of perfume. And she said it was very interesting. She happened to have one of these bottles of perfume with her. And she was administering to a client this was about 2 or 3 days after she got these bottles of perfume. And the client was in deep stress. Her mother had just passed away, and she was really in need of comfort and care, which of course my physical therapist gave to her. But as my physical therapist listened to this woman's story and how deeply emotional she was about the loss of her mother, she wanted to do something special for her. So she gave her a bottle of perfume. The client broke into tears because it was her mother's favorite perfume. And she said it was not only was it her favorite, but it was very hard to get because you had to go to Paris, of course, to get it. And it just reminded me of exactly what Steve had said. You know, you have gifts for somebody and somebody has gifts for you. And the only way it can get out there is if you go out and you take action and you do something. So, thank you, Steve, for passing this thought on to me, because I thought it was really, really special. And then we had Annette, who is talking to us about how important self-awareness is and how important it is to tap into our true selves and to express all the gifts that we've been given. And it reminded me of one of my most favorite passages from Ernest Holmes. I think the first book of his I ever read, and you know, it says in the introduction 30 years. I think I have to update it. It's probably 40 years ago now. But anyway, my favorite book, the first book I ever read by Ernest Holmes, was This Thing Called You. It is a book, it's a small book. It was, at that time, had such a big impact, it actually was passed out to soldiers during World War II. And here's the opening paragraph of this book. You, like all others, are seeking the joy of living. You wish to be needed, to be loved, to be included in the great drama of life. This urge is in every individual. It is in everything. The rose exists to express beauty. Root and branch conspire with nature to give birth to a beautiful bloom. A sculptor will struggle with a slab of cold marble to chisel a beautiful angelic form. Not only human beings, but everything in nature is endowed with this creative urge. We are all brought here to express. And yet, when I look out in our group, there's a bloom here, a bloom there, a bloom here. Why aren't we all blooming? Well, we come in and we face challenges because we're trying to bloom amidst real life that can sometimes be crazy, overwhelming. All kinds of unexpected things happen as we go along our little path. And so today what I want to talk to you is about the gift of those challenges. Because those are the things, I believe, that really help us to do the blooming. One of the reasons that this is such a special topic to me is that I found it sort of sneaking in about 3 or 4 of the talks that I've done in the last 3 or 4 months. I've been talking about how scientists have discovered the importance of doing something challenging for older people. And the reason is this: your brain was born to create and to solve problems. And a lot of times when we retire as older adults, what happens is we say, oh, now I don't have any more obligations, now I can just do what I want, I can sleep as late as I want, I don't have to follow the rules anymore, I can just relax. And it's sort of like the cow being let out to pasture. That's sort of the picture that, you know, our society has endowed us with. And that is about the worst possible thing we could do for our mental and emotional health. Because our brains and our souls need challenge in order to grow. Our brains and our souls need challenge in order to grow. And brains and people who are participating in life, just like Steve Sundragon said last Sunday, that's what it's all about. It's about jumping in and participating instead of being a bystander. Growth doesn't happen in spite of difficulty. It happens through the difficulties that we face. And I think every single one of us can look back on different challenges in our lives and realize that because of that challenge, we have become more resilient. We have become more compassionate, stronger in one way or another. So we really need to be here to express ourselves, but also to understand that when we come across those challenges, sometimes those are things that can also be a great catalyst for that possibility of blooming. So here's another story from one of my other great friends, my friend Candy Christie. She loves to garden, and she has a whole garden in front of her house, and she's always out there, especially when it's really hot like this, watering it like crazy to make sure nothing gets wilted and makes sure all those flowers are pretty and blooming like we all want to do. But she had this beautiful crepe myrtle she had planted, and it was turning white. And the leaves were all turning white, and it was like not looking very well indeed. So she took this plant to a special place where she could talk to a horticulturist to find out what was wrong. She brought in one of the leaves. And he said, "You're watering it too much." And here's the spiritual lesson. When you water a crepe myrtle too much, all the roots stay up above because that's where they can get the water.
Sure.
And they never send their roots down deep into the ground where the real water is. So they need to be dry. They need to be dry in order for those roots to grow. And isn't that true with us? If everything is all just hunky-dory, we might as well be in a little padded cell. Because then nothing can bother us. We have everything we need. Putting down roots and growing that deeper sense of spiritual grace that we're all here in this room trying to do comes from the way we deal with the challenges of being in life. With all of its challenges, with all the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. And if you really stop to think of it, how do we grow muscle? We grow muscle through resistance, doing weights and that kind of thing. Character grows through adversity. Compassion. All of us have compassion for other people who have the same story that we have. Don't you see that? I mean, the reason that we can really relate to people who've gone through health challenges is because most of us in this room have gone through one kind of a health challenge or another. We can relate to people because we understand what it's like to go through that experience, just as they have. And wisdom comes from making mistakes. I keep thinking of my dad's favorite saying, "You can't preach about sin unless you've experienced some." But wisdom grows through making mistakes. And all of us have made mistakes. We've all done things we wish, but we were doing, how do I say, we wish we could have done something differently, but we were doing the best at that time with the knowledge that we had. The brain grows through challenge. Like I think I mentioned in one of my other talks a few weeks ago, what they found is that seniors who actually cook their own meals really dramatically reduce their chances of having dementia. And people who don't like to cook, who still go ahead and cook and get out a recipe and do all the little measurements and everything, it's even better for them. Why? Because the brain is plastic. The brain is always wanting to grow new neurons and new neural pathways. And when you're measuring and doing these things and setting up a schedule and making a plan, that is brain food. So that's why it's important to have challenges. We need to have challenges. Sometimes maybe not quite so big. But they are a part of life, and they are the environment in which we're all trying to bloom, just like Annette was talking about. So, every day, what we really need to do is ask ourselves, what difficult thing will I lovingly practice today? You know, it's very easy to sit here in church and listen to the churchy words, blessing, redemption, personal growth, expressions of, being expressions of love and all kinds of, but I think the key is to take these churchy words and then put them into everyday real practice. So what I did today was I made some little cards that everybody is going to get when we do the offering. And this is what these little cards are going to suggest. Spend about 20 minutes a day doing something challenging. Learn a new skill. Have a difficult conversation. Practice forgiveness. Read something that stretches your thinking. Try a new movement or a new exercise. Or sit in silence when you'd really rather be just distracted by being on TikTok or Facebook or one of those social media things. Be still instead. Each one of these things is saying yes to growth. We were born to grow. We were born to express. And the little challenges and the little irritations are the way, those are the path. I think there is a Buddhist saying that the way that you're looking for, the answers, you are the way. It's right in front of us. It's right here with where we are and how we're living our lives. Not just on Sunday, but on Thursday. And as I think of Thursday, I think of Roger, knowing he's going to go through his surgery just beautifully. Yes. So each of those things is a way of just saying yes to growth and keeping it more conscious in our lives. So instead of praying, God, please take away these challenges, maybe sometimes what we really need to do is to say, God, show me what this challenge is here to grow in me. Who is this experience inviting me to become? It doesn't mean that we stop asking for healing, for peace, or for guidance, but it opens us up to the possibility that even the difficult experiences in our lives are part of our spiritual formation. To keep on, keeping on. Every challenge has another opportunity to ask us, how can I express love here? How can I express patience here? How can I practice forgiveness? How can I summon my courage from my wisdom and my experience? How can I give gratitude for what I've received? Perhaps this is all most beautifully put together in the Christian prayer by St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to give love. For it is not in giving that we receive, for it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in making our transition that we are born to eternal life. So may we all bloom and may we all grow and know that even in the challenge, there is the opportunity.